not what everyone, when you run into someone that has a German Shepherd, the story is always, oh, he was a police dog. And it's a story. And you wind up finding out that it was never a police dog, or it's not a likely candidate to be one.
Right.
But if someone does have that lab that's super driven and bulletproof to sound and everything, then yeah, I mean, there are definitely some agencies that are looking right now. And if anyone's interested, USPCA7.org, that's the United States Police Canine Association, that's the New York and Connecticut region. There's a contact form, you fill that out, and someone will get back to you and put you in touch with the appropriate agency.
And the other thing you can do to USPCA7.org is drop a few dollars in the kitty for, the continuing work and education of the police officers and the dogs and safety equipment for the dogs. What do you have to say to people who have a dog that has bitten somebody? Shawn, is obviously you would want to hear the particulars, but do you have kind of like a generalized thought about that? Or is the particular much more significant than the fact of a bite?
Well, one thing that there's two specifics I usually tell people. I mean, I have German Shepherds, and people walk up and their question is, do your dogs bite? I think it's a stupid question, so I give a stupid answer. All dogs bite. All dogs bite.
That's right.
And the dog that never bit anyone until that day never bit anyone, and everyone always says, "Oh, well, he's never bitten anyone before." And usually there were some signs leading up to that day.
Right.
And people will. I'll walk into a house and they'll be holding a dog by the collar. Dog's aggressing, throwing spit at me, and they'll say, "Well, he's never bit anyone before." And then I tell them, I'm like, "The last dog that tried to bite me, that's what someone said also."
That's right.
There's just there's
What
always
happens
history.
if that person lets go of the collar? Obviously, the situation is pathetic to begin with, that a dog has been allowed to get wound up to this point that they can't even sit quietly or even just bark at the very worst, much less looking like they want to eat you alive. They let the dog go, and it does try to bite you. I mean, that must have happened because you're, I guess, pretty well known for being able to go into these situations and at least figure them out, deal with them, and not maybe always solve them with a happy ending, but at least you have the courage and the knowledge and the experience to stand there and deal with it. Have they ever lost control of such a beast, and it has gone for you?
I'm going to back up a little bit. I also have the smarts to tell them when I know what I'm going to be dealing with when it comes to the house. The dog is to be crated when I get there, because I want to hear the history before I even see.
Right.
I don't want to walk in and be the next victim. I want to walk in, let that dog know I'm in the house. I am not concerned about them at all, and that they're not going to intimidate me at the door or cause me to have a defensive feeling on my end.
Right.
Or,
right.
And let that dog sense any level of stress or anything on my end. So it really comes down to, I'm going into a home knowing there's an aggression issue. That dog needs to be confined when I get there. And there is no collar holding. There's leash holding, and before they put the leash on, I show them how to hold the leash. I had one incident years ago. Dog blew past the owner and came at me in a hallway, and it was the strangest scenario. And the woman went to walk in her own apartment. I was probably about 30 feet away, and dog just blasted past her and came at me. And I basically fought the dog off, knowing some tricks from doing bite work with dogs, and I lived, because this is the first time a dog had ever gone for my neck, and it was pretty serious.
This dog went for your neck?
Yeah, this was a East German import in the wrong hands, and the dog went for my neck.
Wow. How did this person wind up with a dog that was obviously genetically, I guess you could say, wired, or maybe even early training to try to bring people down?
This was a situation of the dog was possessive of the owner, not protective, and this is a situation where someone sold a dog for profit and not for perfect fit, and not for the perfect end user.
And where did that dog wind up? What was the end of that story after you recovered?
That was a recommendation to remove dog from premises, and a letter from a lawyer and whatnot, because it's just a dangerous situation. Because if that was a food delivery person in that hallway, or a child, it would have been a different outcome.
Did they euthanize the dog?
No, the dog was rehomed into a working environment.
And so there are times when a dog like that, you were saying that, just because a dog is bitten doesn't mean they're going to be any good at police work, because you don't really necessarily want your police detection dogs to be biters. That's not one of the things you're looking for. As you say, you
Yeah.
can get any dog to bite. That's what they got teeth for. What kind of a police situation would a dog with that high aggressive drive be used for? Would it be for apprehension as a canine partner in a car?
Well, again, it's back to like just nerve strength, things of that sort. This dog wound up in a sporting situation, like Schutzhund. And it's probably this dog had been wound up, not been able to get any type of fulfillment in his life, and this is just being bottled up in an apartment. It just had no outlet for any of it and was frustrated, and that's where a lot of stuff came from.
And
But
do
you
we
see that a
find that
lot.
with a lot of bad behavior, dogs that are just, they don't get the exercise they need? When you talk about fulfillment, it's such an important word that people don't hear enough, to let a dog be a dog, to have ability to run, to play, to dig, to fetch, to hunt, or whatever that dog's, primary drive is. If you keep them bottled up, it's like a racehorse, in a stall. You open the stall door, they're just going to run. Right? I mean, they're just too full of energy that turns out to be toxic, nervous, negative energy
Yeah.
if they don't have any outlet for it.
Well, and I'll give you an example of just like where it starts from. We're talking about puppies, so I'll go back to that for a minute. I just had a client ask me a question about a friend's dog. They got a new Shih Tzu puppy, and the dog's biting their hands, and how do we correct it? And to me, it's not a correction issue. It's a redirection.
Yes.
Play a little bit tug of war with that puppy. Let that puppy get that out, and then turn it into a reward for training. So that way,
Yep.
as a baby, you have a puppy that's not going to be a food-only motivated dog, where you have some fulfillment exercise to do with the dog. And you could easily go in there and throw correction into the mix and shut the dog down, and then you miss a really good opportunity to create a fulfillment exercise for that same dog.
So just saying no, which is what so many people have, somehow that's their instinct or what they've been taught to do. So many things that dogs do are natural to them and healthy, like
Yeah.
puppies using their teeth to play with humans or other puppies is a natural drive. So if you can have a really great tug toy around, or a really great, like the police use, those kind of very thick padded things to hang on to, then that gives the dog a way to use it with you as a bonding exercise, fun, something positive.
Yeah, and it's something that you want a professional to show you how to do, because you don't want to just create a tug-of-war monster. It's using it as a dominance tool against the owner either. And when the dog's teeth are actually touching the person, it's an act of dominance, and that's why I switch it to something else. Let the dog dominate the toy and not dominate the person, and
Right.
then shift that into, all right, you want your tuggy, you're going to sit. You sit, good. You're going to get the tug now, and now we can play that game
Yep.
again. And there's also a whole level of pressures that you put on, because the same person that's telling this dog sit down, come, stay, it's kind of awkward for the dog to then go and fight that person in tug of war. So you have to, there's some boundaries and there's some specifics that have to be laid out to do it properly, but to say no tug of war is to take away one of the most fulfilling exercises a dog has.
And can be fun for the people as well, unless they're the 74-year-old granny with the Labrador. As we wrap up, I guess what this really tells people is there is absolutely no one right answer for every dog, one right kind of reward for every dog, one right stimulation or outlet, but each is an individual and they all have those needs. Shawn, say again how people can reach you, because anyone living in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, how great to have a wonderful trainer. You could meet with Shawn once, you could meet with him every week until the dog's a year old, or your dog could be 8 and need some help. It's just great to have someone who's sensible and marvelous. It's dogsareasy.com. Is that the name of your website?
Yes, that's the website, and there's a contact form, and if you fill that out, I'll get back to you. If you call the phone number, it's just piled up. There's too much volume, so if you use contact form, I can get back to you pretty quick.
And the other thing is that on my website, thedogbible.com or traciehotchner.com, but who wants to try and spell that out loud? That's a place that you can find the page for Shawn, picture of him and his gorgeous dog, and all that contact info's on there. Shawn, thanks for the great work you're doing with the police and with all the rest of us. We really appreciate you being out there with your wisdom. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Tracy.
Have a great day. Bye.